This is the Xbox 360 20 years later. We're going to be diving in and talking about the legacy of the console, going over a selection of launch titles, and just having a great time discussing this legacy console after 2 decades have passed, which is still really hard to believe that it's been that long. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So yeah, I've selected 4 different launch titles. I guess you could skip to whatever part of the video you want if you want to have a little bit of nostalgia for something you might have experienced right off the bat. But I thought we'd start with Call of Duty 2, which was a console launch exclusive for Xbox 360, and a mighty one at that. Call of Duty has always been a big thing and a big part of Xbox, and particularly the 360 era, as we saw the games really help the console dominate during that era. And there was also some exclusivity with DLC later on, and Call of Duty really was just kind of a big part of what made the Xbox 360 the console it was. And it all started with Call of Duty 2. Of course, there were Call of Duty titles prior to this one that were available on the original Xbox. There's the Big Red One, Finest Hour, stuff like that. But there was just something about the technical achievement of this, the visuals, the experience of it. Seeing it here, first day one, it was really quite exhilarating experience, and it really set the stage for those that played this at the time to experience Call of Duty action on the console in an exciting way, with both the campaign and the multiplayer kind of offering you some thrilling and exciting gameplay experiences right off the bat. And I think they absolutely did nail that experience with what they achieved here. It's such a... I'm sure it hasn't necessarily visually aged the best for everyone, but it was such a technical achievement at the time, and it was such a great looking game, and just this epic campaign in World War II. Then of course, the competitive online play was rather riveting as well, and just offered some good old nostalgia if you've been ever revisited it or found other players to play with, which is exciting. But yeah, the 360 was definitely a very important part, I guess you could say, of my life. It's for sure my favorite console. It's just been kind of wild seeing it kind of age. Something comes out and you play games on it and you experience it and you spend who knows how many hours, playing games, talking with friends, watching stuff on it, playing demos, checking out the Xbox Live Arcade. Wow, that was a vicious warm awakening, that's for sure. It's just it's an experience that offered so many different things and just basically spanned so many years. The 360 is something I'm still playing pretty actively today and enjoying thoroughly with some of the best games that were ever created in gaming. And it's just great to have a console that continues to hold up really well and was just so much fun to play then, and it's so much fun to play today. It's really cool that it just continues to run these games and offers these great experiences in such exciting and thrilling ways. But yeah, it was so fun. So many different eras of 360 too. When I got it for was it Christmas the one year or whatever, we popped up NHL and stuff, and we had a couple games off the bat, but it was basically a Halo machine for me. I just played Halo 2 because it was backwards compatible, so you could play the original Xbox games, because the original Xbox's generation was a regular generation length, but it was a little tight. It was quick, but then you got to experience hundreds of games that you might have owned just on a technically better console. Some of the emulation stuff was sort of iffy here or there, but for the most part, it was a much better experience to have, especially sitting there playing Halo 2 online against others. That was so cool. And then I had all the cool stuff for the 360 over the years. I dove into the Kinect and had so much fun with Dance Central, and even at the beginning I had the DDR games with the DDR dance mats, which were quite cool. You would lie those down and sort of dance to them in that. And then there was all the microphone stuff with the Lip series. I think there was a American Idol. Oh, that's a lot of guys in that corner. I think there's an American Idol video game too that was kind of funny, but yeah, the Lips games, that was really cool. And all these different peripherals and all these different things that you could attach, the racing wheel, these different controllers, the Scene-It controllers to play Scene-It. That was awesome. But we're going to switch over to the next game right here. This is Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official video game of the movie. So this one is really, really quite neat because it actually uses talent from the movie to do voice lines. It's an incredibly great sort of horror survival game. You get to play as the people going around filming, but you also get to play as King Kong during really cool action sequences. You fight weird monsters. It was one of those easy off the bat achievement games. The ending is a bit abrupt, but this one was a really, really genuinely unique experience. And to have this right off the bat, and it was sort of a cross-gen title. There is an original Xbox version of this, but this one had some pretty good visuals that I think actually hold up really well today. This is a game that is really calling for a remastering or remake of some sort. And I know that sounds weird because it's based off of the movie, of course, but no, this game is genuinely excellent. It's well worth playing if you've never been able to experience it. I think you'll have a lot of fun diving in and enjoying what this has to offer just because it is such a distinctly unique and thrilling game. And it's got some cool spots to it. It's got some neat dinosaur segments, and every part of the game, like different levels and different setups, and it complements the movie really, really quite well. It's only the abrupt ending where you kind of go, huh? But yeah, you get the gist of the movie too. It opens with a cinematic and stuff from the film, some of the footage, and you dive in and you're kind of going and shooting and filming and making this movie, as to say, because that's the whole plot of this, Peter Jackson's King Kong. So diving back into what I was talking about with peripherals there was a lot of really, really cool stuff. Like I was saying, we had the Scene It stuff with the little controllers, a few games there, the Lips games. There was, of course, the music peripheral era, where you had Rock Band and Guitar Hero, and you had drums and guitars and microphones that were part of that. Similar with Lips, although Lips had its own distinct microphones. And then there was also the kind of little bit of the Toys to Games coming in there. That was a big thing for a bit towards the later years. Kinect, like I had mentioned, was huge, and then that led into Kinect 2.0 on the Xbox One afterwards. Yeah, so many cool peripherals and things that made up the 360 era, and they were always trying different things, which was really exciting. Like there was like a webcam that you could kind of add, like the 360 chat cam, and people used to do all kinds of weird stuff in Uno with that going on. And but you could use it like it was in Rainbow Six Vegas. You could like put your face into the game, and it didn't really work very well. But it was cool that you could do stuff like that. It really felt like they were trying to do some really interactive and innovative things throughout the entire generation. I still don't think we get the sort of wealth of peripheral designs or attempts that we got during that era, and that to me is such a shame. What are those giant things? That's terrifying. Do you see the monsters down there? I can't handle this. Can you, Jack Black? Or whatever your name is supposed to be in this actual storyline. There's giant, weird creature things. I don't know if I can handle this. Give me your weapon. Alright, let's take out these giant bugs. So yeah, from a peripheral standpoint, so many cool things. Custom controllers, so many custom controllers. One of my favorite was this red chrome one. My father got me right towards the end of the generation. It was always awesome. I used it for a lot of times until I have this sort of attachment thing that allows me to use a newer controller on this, which helps a lot. And then there was, of course, the 360 driving wheel, the steering wheel, and then some custom ones people did. So the custom 360 limited edition consoles. There were some beautiful ones out there. One of my favorites is the Modern Warfare 2 Elite controller. I bought that one. That was fantastic. I've had that since launch. Used it for many years. I think the Simpsons one was a pretty rare one. There was the Halo 3, the Halo 4 consoles, the Gears of War consoles were really, really great too. Lots of truly unique and beautiful designs for the 360 consoles, the controllers, and all of it just kind of came together in really exciting ways. Like, you actually bought multiple consoles because the Red Ring of Death probably got to you a few times. I remember going through withdrawals when I couldn't play for a long time because I didn't know what to do with my time. Because, yeah, they would die over and over again, which is annoying. This is Project Gotham Racing 3. So PGR was kind of a big deal at the time. You know, you had two very successful titles. Forza was obviously kind of building up and overtook PGR's sort of spot as a racing title or a series for the Xbox consoles, which is a bit of a shame because I always thought PGR had its own little flair, and the two of them could have existed nicely beside one another, but, you know, things happen. So, Project Gotham Racing is awesome. I remember there was a day where I was sick, which was very rare for me when I was young. I mostly went to school and stuff all the time. But I was shipped out to my grandparents, and I literally just sat there and played Project Gotham Racing all day. And yeah, they wanted me to go outside. I did for a bit, then I came back in and I played some PGR. This and Chell. That was basically what I was playing that day. But it was a lot of fun. It was great driving action. It looked really good at the time too. Like, I still think this game looks kind of nice, obviously. Some of the visual elements haven't aged the best, but I still think this is a pretty decently nice looking game. A bit jaggedy around the edges, that's for sure, but yeah, Project Gotham Racing 3 was definitely a great debut title for the platform. So going back to the Red Ring of Death, that one was fun. I had like 2 or 3 units fail. They were allowing us, like, I'd go to Future Shop, you'd basically be like, okay, you'd buy a loaner. So what they would do is the employees, they would let you buy a loaner console. You'd take it when your console was like shipped off, and then you would return it afterwards, and they would be totally cool with that. And you would just get to keep playing your 360 while it was gone. I think I learned that after the first one. Took a month. I remember one console they're like, okay, you need to send back the power cord. And I did, and then they sent me back one without a power cord, and I was like, what is this? It was kind of funny. That was a really big mess up by them, and then it took even more time, because yeah, the Red Ring of Death was a huge issue for the 360 platform for sure, but I also think it helped them sell more consoles, and even outside of like Red Rings, like after they fixed that up a little bit I know myself and others bought multiple 360 consoles just for like the designs, or just to have them, or just limited edition consoles were definitely a helpful extra seller for platforms, just to A, get people into the ecosystem to buy in with a favorite game, or B, just so you have something different to look at in your environment. And it's always a shame that we've seen limited edition consoles sort of disappear over time. A huge disappointment for sure, because they're such a cool thing to see and have in your room for usage, or even display, I guess you would say. Although they are meant for play, they are consoles. So yeah, that was kind of fun. Talking about the 360 like experience, it really felt next gen when you jumped in and played it. Like, the original Xbox had a vibe, but when you turned on the 360 and you saw those original like colored blades, it was so cool. And then you saw the dashboard sort of expand and change over time. The addition of the avatars, all the integrated online features. They had like Facebook being added to at one point at Twitter, and that was a big deal. And 1 versus 100 was so much fun. That was a great time. I remember sitting there with buddies, and you'd be like trying to win stuff and chatting while you're doing it. Just these social experiences that were never possible before. And yet we still don't see those kind of things come back or grow or really expand. I mean, they've reformed in different ways, but you know, there was something about the social interactions that existed during 360. I know in the US they got the watch parties on Netflix. We never ended up getting that, which was a bit of a shame. And that was really, really neat to see all these like social features grow, and of course, you know, popping up your dashboard, seeing your friends, making party chat, which killed game chat. Before that, we had like one-on-one chat you could do, but then party chat totally destroyed that. Your messages, your beacons and activities, which came way later on, and then of course the achievement system, which I still love today as I get ever closer to a million gamer score. But achievements were like a huge, huge thing, and I wanted to show them off, but it loads achievements so slow on 360. We're just gonna give up on that for the sake of time. Wow, so there we go, getting ever closer to a million. But like achievements, a big deal, a huge thing. I think I spent so much time on games I didn't need to get achievements, and there was awards and gamer pictures you could get, and you could play media, and like you could watch movies, because we used to do that, movie nights, and you'd play music and stuff on through your Xbox 360 too, which was really, really cool. Yeah, there was so many neat kind of ways to kind of interact and extend your gaming experience beyond the actual games themselves, doing all of these social things with your friends and having a really great time doing so across so many memories. This is Quake 4, which had a really cool opening where you got the guy floating through space and he's like, oh, he's not a person. Well, he was a person, but he's, kind of a little bit split into pieces. So this game was a very interesting kind of launch style. Like, obviously, Quake has a lot of legacy, and this one went off in a very different direction with it. It was definitely a shooter of this time, but it was certainly quite different from the other things that we saw in the past from Quake. And this was an Activision published title too, which is interesting, which is I always wonder why they ain't come back. Anyways, so they also had Quake Enemy Wars, which was kind of like a territory kind of fighting game, which was different. And then we didn't really see Quake kind of continue really after this, did we? Which was an intriguing thing to see have happen. But in general, we talked about a little bit early on, like the 360. We talked about the social settings. We talked about the peripherals. We talked about all the different parts of sort of the experience that was Xbox 360 going into that HD era, which was, promise of excitement and growth and social interaction and new games. The biggest part of it was the games. There was such a wealth of exclusives and titles. And I could have sat here making a video for like a multi-hour long video going over all the different years of Xbox 360, all of the different big games. I'd sit there probably just jumping off by showing off Halo 3. I'd probably just play Halo 3 for however long right off the bat. But I thought it was a really good idea to sit back and kind of just go over some of the launch titles. Some of the fun surprises that were present as part of the launch of this experience. And just to see kind of how far games have come, but at the same time just show off how exciting getting a 360 off the bat would have been. Like, you've got games that are running at pretty decent resolutions for the time, at decently high frame rates as well. And you get that level of performance here. Like, this has all been played off of an Xbox 360. Sure, it's a little bit of one of the later, slimmer ones that's a little bit more quiet and such, but it makes it easier to capture because, it didn't have HDMI right off the bat. Yeah, remember you had to get, like, the newer ones had HDMI, and they had, like, built-in Wi-Fi over time because, like, the original ones didn't have that thing. You had to buy, like, a dongle for it. That was funny. So funny. Very generous with the amount of USB slots that you get on the 360 console, that's for sure. But it's really about the games. That's what made gaming consoles so great or so memorable over the years, is what they provide, their exclusives. And the 360 had so many exclusives, so many big titles that today you see across multiple platforms that really helped sell the 360. It wasn't just like one or two big games. Those big games were anchored by like dozens of secondary experiences that really made the 360 just a dominant force. And not only that, but the games ran better and looked better on 360 in almost every scenario. And it's just kind of incredible to like take a look at this game and play these games and be like, wow, these games are like 20. These are 20-year-old games that we're playing right now. And I'll probably redo this down the road too as we like revisit Xbox for various anniversary events. But there is something just kind of wild to be here. Like, this looks so Doom 3-esque, which is kind of funny. No, of course, I mean, we all know why, but yeah, it's just kind of fascinating to think of the time that's gone by. And if you're younger, you might not have even been around during this era, but for me, kind of living, seeing these games coming out, playing these games, revisiting these games, and thinking, 20 years, think of how much my life has changed. I was rather young, and I was just kind of really enjoying gaming and really getting into gaming to the full degree. Like, I had never played as much as I had played when things began to become online and integrated. And then you look today, and it's like, it's what I do for work, and I have a house. And, it's crazy. Like, I bought a house in that time span, and, I grew up, and I got older, and it's just really cool that this sort of console and this platform has been along for the ride and provided me with so many genuinely great moments with friends or meeting people, random people online that you wouldn't have known of prior because they'd be somewhere else in the world, or playing and going off to these crazy worlds or having these crazy role-playing experiences, seeing favorite games return and playing new ones, discovering new franchises in a time where franchises were emerging and you were getting full trilogies on a console. And yeah, no, the Xbox 360 really was a genuinely special time, and it continues to be a console that I love going back and playing. If you can get your hands on one, or you can emulate it, or just experience what these games had to offer, I think you will absolutely adore this library of games and find there's to be some fun within them. And for a bonus, one more game, just because people say Madden always looks the same every year, and it really doesn't. Here is Madden NFL 06, which had some groundbreaking trailers and showcases for what the next generation of football action was going to be like. I figured I had to throw a sports game in. I could have done AMP 3, I don't know. I was just like, Madden. It had the easy achievements to unlock, and it was sort of a big deal because obviously the Xbox 360 is such a North American targeted sort of platform, so you gotta have Madden. And you know what? Honestly, like the technology, that was a fumble there? Wow. An injury, holy. The technology has actually changed quite a bit over time, but I would say this is still a pretty good looking game for the era, right? You've got that heavy rain that's superficial, definitely superficial. Gameplay wise, it's about the same. How did that happen? Are you for real? I'm mind blown. But yeah, like, you know, the character models and everything like that, the visuals, the HD visuals, the HD era of gaming, giving us like super high visual fidelity. I was so excited because I was like, oh yes, I got the ball right off the bat. That's great. Looks action packed for the footage. Fumble right, but you can see like the breadth of the players though, and like details of the faces. The jerseys have textures and stuff like that. Like if you had played, because this is like a cross-gen title too, right? Like if you had played Madden or other sports games, this was quite a big change up for the series. Seeing this and seeing this improvement and the adjustments and the controls. A pal of mine would always say, you know, the best looking games to showcase what your consoles or new consoles can do is are sports titles. Typically in the past they're always usually pretty boundary pushing. Nowadays it's a little bit more plateaued because they are already so realistic looking. It's like what more of a bump up do you necessarily get? But I think this just does show the strength that this console had right off the bat by having a sports title like this right from day one, and you could be in there like, what's better than Madden? Seriously, what's more American than, you know, than having a football game on your console for the launch of it, of course, right? Obviously, it would have been nice to have some other sports titles. I think there was like an NHL 2K6 or something was there. It took EA a little bit to get the other one going on. And yeah, it's a very good sort of offering to have, and I think just like looking at the visuals, because I'd probably never have an excuse to sit here and do a video on this one otherwise, but I just find this title utterly fascinating, because I don't think the other Maddens, oh yeah, he's gone. Oh, come on. I don't think the other Madden titles quite matter as much that came out over the years. Obviously, they massively improved in technology and features and, you know, all these little technical details. But I don't think they really had sort of the initial showcase this one had, and the amount of fumbles either. I don't think they had as many fumbles as this one really seems to have for me, that is for sure. But no, it's just the sports title is such a big part of a console, because a lot of gamers are very much, you know, they play a couple games here or there, and they love sports. You know, so many people love sports, and that really does help sell your platform as people being able to play their sports title, and then something like, say, Call of Duty or whatnot, or a few games every now and then that they dive into. But yeah, there was so much to do on 360, so many things to see. Look at the fog, too, in the distance. This is an impressive game for the time. Like, by the end of the generation, like, we could look at another Madden, and I know the AI is just killing me now, but like the crowd moving around, the people on the side, all the little small details, especially hitting this level of visual fidelity and stuff. This would have been a really, really impressive offering right off the bat. Similar to like when I was playing NHL 07, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Yeah, I think big football fans would have felt the exact same day one, kind of being like, this is a wild looking game. But yeah, I thought I would just sneak in a little extra bonus thing. I mean, you probably could see the timestamps and could feel that, but if you kind of ignore those, you'd maybe have fun being like, oh, and one more thing, and it's Madden, and you're like, oh, what a weird choice. But it shows the full scope of what Xbox 360 had right off the bat. Incredible launch lineup of games.